Okay, so this is the portion of the demo for the nose. All right. So let us start by taking a look at our file. So in ZBrush, what I have here is my document. Like I say, whenever I'm working, I don't really like this, so I'll bring the range down to 0. So I've got kind of like a gray shader the entire way. Alright, so the next thing I want to do is I do want to bring in an image. So I'm going to bring in an image plane into my scene. I'm going to load my image. And this will help me get a lot of those proportions correct, or at least whenever I'm studying. Let's just find a good one for the nose. The nose. This one's not bad. But I think I have one where it has like the front and the side as well. This one isn't bad either. If I don't find the one I'm looking for, I will use that one. Okay, I guess I'm going to be using the one I have. That's fat pads. Okay, this one works. Let's go to my front view. There we go. All right. Let's make our cube. Let's divide it a little bit. 2. I'm going to not use this. I'm going to use this basic gray shader, as you guys can see. And I'm not going to start off using lazy mouse. I'm going to turn lazy mouse off. X on the keyboard. Alright. And what you can do, like I showed you guys last time, is if I go to my texture settings, I can model opacity, reduce the opacity of what I've got. All right. So, all right, so this is now my side view. So I can do a few things. I can hit BMV on my keyboard, and that's my move tool. So I can use that to move this stuff back. So, all right, let me show you guys. So right now I'm in my my cube is oriented to the front. You can tell by looking at this guy right over here. But if I turn him this way, now he's facing the side. So what I want to do is I just want to match this profile image that I have over here. The easiest way to do is just get a giant piece and then just start moving it back. All right, shift to smooth, shift to smooth. All right. All right, so there's a few things I can do. I can then start to shape my nose, right? Shift to smooth, shift to smooth, right? And put it like so. My move tool is still active, so I can maybe reduce the scale, right? Like so. Turn it to the front again, and then I just want to move these pieces like so. BCB will allow me to create. I'm going to reduce my scale. All right, you see how I don't, oh, that's a little crazy. All right, you see, I'm just going to create that, shift, smooth. Okay. Okay. So right now my intensity is a little high. I'm just going to reduce it to maybe 5. All right. Giving me something a little more manageable. All right. The nose is actually very easy to do. It's not the hardest of the pieces. So maybe we add a little bit like so. Shift, smooth. If I wanted to, control. Like that. Actually, before I do any of that, let's smooth this out. Alright, it's almost done. It's not the craziest piece that you're gonna have. BMV, that's my move tool. Maybe I grab this piece up a little bit. Alright, let's give him more of a Chad-like nose. BDS, right? This is when if I wanted to draw a certain type of nose, I could do that. I can define it a little more. So if I wanted to, let me reduce my Damien Standard tool. It might be a little hard to see what I'm doing right now, so let me increase my model opacity a little bit. All right, so now what I want to do is let's go BCB, and then I'm gonna increase this guy a little bit, shift, smooth a little bit. All right. All right, and then so now if I hit BDS, I go to my Damien Standard tool. Let me smooth this out a little bit. I can either cut in, right? So I can cut into my mesh, or if I hit Alt on the keyboard, I can then use that to kind of define some of these shapes a little better. Then I can use it to maybe cut in a little bit more, right? Cut in some of those shapes that I'm seeing in there. All right. So a nose isn't the hardest thing to do. With a few strokes, you can really start to define the nose pretty easily. I can go in here where the nostril is, control, use my move tool, right, and then just kind of pull that. All right. So now that I have something that's a little decent, and like I said, right, like depending on race, age, all of that changes the style of the nose, what the nose is really going to look like. So I can really start to, affect what that kind of looks like. All right, so I've got my nose here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my geometry, and then I can do Z remesh. I'm going to do the same, and I'm going to Z remesh it. So now what that's going to do, let me control Z that. All right, so now because of the shape I started with, which was it a cube? I don't know if I can remember. Cube. I started with a cube. All right. So with the cube, the OG cube, I think we talked about this last class. It's got something called high valence points. High valence points, all that means is you've got a point where all of these edges connect. High valence point, right? That's all that means. This is not very adequate for sculpting because what you're going to get is these poles on the edge, so you'll see this stretching and this weirdo stuff going on, and that's never fun for sculpting. You'll reach a level where it's like, all right, that's annoying. That I don't want that to happen anymore. So what you're gonna do in that situation is you're gonna go to your Z remesher. You can either double the amount of polygons that it has, half it, or do the same. For this situation, same is fine. I'm gonna Z remesh it, and then it's going to fix all of that. It's okay. I don't want to say that. It's not going to fix it, but it will try to evenly redistribute the polygons that I already have. All right. It doesn't mean it's going to fix it, because what it's doing is it's technically just creating polygons out of everything, trying to quantify everything, so to speak. All right. So I just don't want to misspeak, because sometimes the jargon can be a little confusing. So, if I say it fixes it, I don't want you to run and be like, oh, it fixes my model. It does not fix your model. It just redistributed the polygons in a way that makes more sense to it. So now I can just come back down here and then smooth all of this out. All right. So now, like, if you're frowning or something, you can add that. Let me turn this off. All right, you can see that it definitely does start to add a little bit of life to the model itself. All right. This one's not that crazy either. It shouldn't be a crazy model for you guys to really knock out. Smooth this out. Does anybody have any questions for me? So, like, let me divide this one time. All right. So as you guys can see, these are very subtle, right? Like these, I can definitely use my Damien standard to exaggerate. But the reason that everything kind of falls into place with something like this is because I did everything at this much lower subdivision level, and then whenever I divide it, whenever I go into a higher subdivision, all of the form, all of the structure is already in place, right? So if I wanted to, I can even start to deviate, and I'm just smoothing it out a little bit more. BCB. All right, so this is what I was telling you guys to do. Let me show you guys. So if I wanted to look more a little more painterly, I hit BCB, that's my clay build-up brush, and then I can use that to kind of hit some of these. Right? You can hit some of these, and it'll give it more of like a sculpted feel to it. But then, you know, with these kind of pieces, I might even just smooth them out. All right. And as usual, you know, you can't, why would you end, you know, a class like this without giving him some sort of accessory? Let's append a nose ring. All right, buddy needs a nose ring. Just gonna move this. Remember, if I want to select this piece, Alt click. The reason the other piece disappeared is because that one is hidden. So I'm just going to turn off my symmetry mode. Right? You know symmetry mode is on because you can see 2 red dots. X turns off symmetry mode. Now I can move it down here. I'm going to give him one of these, you know, these septums. These septum rings are very, very on brand nowadays. A lot of kids have these. There you go. Boom. Now he's ready for a rave. All right, Epicurious. He's super curious. All right. Does anybody have any questions for me? Comments, concerns about the assignment, what you're supposed to do?
No.
Okay, perfect. All right. You guys take it from here. I believe in you guys. I like the stuff that you guys have been doing. Thank you so much for being a part of the class. Once again, I will see you next time. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to reach out to me. I should be able to reach out to you as soon as humanly possible.